he never seen. Love him or hate him, he's gonna have to say. He's gonna speak his mind each and every day. It's the Ed Tyll Show. It's the Ed Tyll Show. Come on, everybody. It's Ed Tyll.
Ed Tyll Show, Starcom Radio Network. We're so glad our next guest is back on the show. Crystal Hodges has been with us before, a very unique situation, and what she's here to help us with today is bullying and cyberbullying and how to stop it. But her own experience being born with a facial port wine stained birthmark really has changed her life from the experience that you might think that's not really what happened. Crystal, welcome back to the show. What a pleasure to have you on today.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
You bet. Last time on the air, excuse me, I was reaching over for my coffee. Last time we were on the air, I was surprised with what your experience was as having this facial birthmark, the port wine stain. People probably know it in my generation as the Mikhail Gorbachev wine stain, but yours as a young lady growing up, going to school, etc., we would think, oh, my God, we've got to protect her from this. Oh, my God, they're going to be miserable to her. Oh, we've got to insulate her from this experience of being with the kids. What turned out to be the thing that made your life different from having that port wine stain birthmark?
Well, as a kid, I wasn't really bullied by other peers, and I know that's, unusual for a lot of kids. I was always that person who wanted to be friends with everybody, so I did. When I was 7, I was bullied by one peer by the milk carton area in the cafeteria, and so that's the only peer experience I could think of as a child where I was actually bullied. What's made it unusual, I feel like, or maybe it's not unusual, I don't know what other people in similar situations would say, would be that a lot of the bullying I've experienced actually happens from adults, and it always has been that way. It's always been the adult generation who have been the worst about that.
And give us an example. What kind of experience did you go through with older people having an issue with your appearance?
When I was a teenager, I was in a Goodwill in Nashville, Tennessee, and there was this guy who literally just tried to argue with me that I was contagious or that I had skin cancer. As a child, my mom would have to block me from staring eyes. And now that I'm older, she still tries to do it, but I catch on much better than my 5-year-old or 10-year-old self. But, they would even go up to my mom and, accuse her of burning me or abusing me. Wow. And so there's just, I don't know, adults seem to usually be the worst about it. But because kids, if they're asking about it, they're usually just curious and they're just genuine and they're just trying to figure it out. And I think adults are just, they're not accustomed to seeing someone who looks different, and they haven't really been exposed to it early on, and so they feel like they have to address the elephant in the room, and then they do it in an awkward way, or they've just never learned the proper way to go about asking about someone's difference.
And I guess what's horrible is, right, not only are they overt about it, but you hear all this craziness come out of them, and it makes you realize this is what they do outside of your presence, right? Their understanding of your birthmark and other things in the world are filled with all of this myth and craziness. You can see the lack of progress there for society once they get to a certain age. It doesn't represent us well as grown-ups, I'll tell you that. Your selfie was stolen, turned into a meme, and went viral. Do you mind relating that experience again? You told us about it last time, but tell it again for the new listeners we have today.
So I have medical treatments on my birthmark to prevent medical complications to happen because it's caused by extra blood flow, and so we have to keep the blood vessels healthy. And so to do that, I have my birthmark lasered every 2 to 3 months typically. And so I blog about my experience, and I posted a selfie on my blog after my treatment where it's really purple and kind of swollen and covered with Vaseline because it's burning, and so and to keep it from drying out and blisters from happening. And so anyway, I posted this, and one day I got on Facebook And my friend said, hey, I saw your picture in my news feed today. And somebody who runs a page of 27 million followers took my picture, and they added their logo to my photo, basically saying it was their picture, and the text, one like equals beautiful, saying, if we like this picture, that validates her beauty. That means she's beautiful. And so that share alone, because it was shared to over 30 million people total, like at least 12, 16 major times.
Wow.
And but that one share alone had over 256,000 likes and thousands of comments, it was crazy because I read about like 30,000 because,
Wow.
What else do I have to do?
So wild. That's such a great story. The question I always have when I think about this is, do you think the goodness in people was a reflection of you, or do you think you stumbled into this great amount of goodness that maybe we don't realize exists until it's triggered? Do you follow that?
Can you say that again?
Yeah. In other words,
that was an interesting question.
It is. To me, it's fascinating because I don't know the answer to it. Are people already good, and there's a big reservoir of good? Then when you come into the picture, you trigger something that's already there. Or do you think they are picking up on your goodness, and because there's something different about you, that becomes a linchpin for your goodness to spread to them? It's kind of like a chicken and the egg. Which one came first? What do you think about that?
I've never heard that question before. I don't know. I would have to actually think about an answer. I don't know. Maybe next time I'm on the show, I'll have an answer for that one. I don't know. That's a good question.
Do you feel that when people reach out to you, that they're actually changing in the moment, that you're the reason that they see somebody with your birthmark differently because of the personal touch, because now there's a person attached to it?
Well, I hope that even if it starts off in an awkward situation, whether it's the way they've asked a question or what they've said, and as we have a conversation, that hopefully their mindset is changed and they do take away something, and that way the next time they meet somebody with a physical difference, they treat them better. I, for example, I have great doctors and nurses, totally awesome doctors, but sometimes when I go to the hospital, there are awkward situations that happen with the employees there. And so, I will often voice up my concern to the manager and let them know, hey, this is what happened, but you know what? I want to help change the culture of your organization, and I would love to come back and talk to your group about what happened so that hopefully the next patient who may not have confidence in themselves can have a better experience, because I talk to people who've been put in makeup by the age of 2 years old, and people who are forced to wear makeup to bed because their husbands don't want to see their birthmark when they wake up. And so if I feel like, I didn't have those negative experiences, I've had family and friends who've supported me, and I have confidence, and I see how some comments affect me, then if I can help make a difference in potentially the next person's experience in that facility or that organization or company, whether it's a hospital or at, a restaurant or whatever, then, I would love to do that. And so hopefully there's always somebody who's going to learn whenever I, explain my story and talk to them about it.
Crystal Hodges is our guest on the Ed Tyll Show, Starcom Radio Network. What's fascinating, I want to send people right away to www.thetravelinchick, T-H-E, Travelin, not traveling, but TRAVELINCHICK.com, the website. I think you just gave us a little hint into the answer to that question that we're going to get into next time. I think there's something about you that moves you to make things better for other people, even if what they're at the moment confronting is a lack of understanding about what they're seeing on your birthmark. So we're going to talk about that more next time. But what I do see right here is that you enjoy redefining the world's understanding and definition of beauty. Why is that important to you?
So I recently did this project where I was in New York City. It's actually when we met, and I had this idea when I saw street artists drawing people from around the world, drawing tourists. And I thought, what would happen if I went up to them and asked them to draw me? What would that look like? Would they include my birthmark? Would they not? Would they leave it off? What would this conversation look like? And at first I was like, no, this is a dumb idea, and I didn't do it in the moment. And eventually, long story short, I ended up working with 50 artists from around the world because I realized, no, this isn't a dumb idea, and I wanted to see what this looked like. And while it's partially a social experiment and just being intrigued and curious, I realized that, after going viral to 30 million people around the world, I read about 30,000 comments from total strangers from from different countries. And I realized that in a way I wanted to work with the world to redefine that world's understanding of beauty and the definition of that. Because I just think it's important to realize that one of my friends drew a picture where she wrote, nothing is black or white, and neither is beauty. Like, we put beauty into a box because of the billboards around us, because of the online ads and magazines, but there's so much more beauty in the world that sometimes we forget to realize, like, just because something is different or somebody looks a little different, like, they're still beautiful. Like, we don't have to, like, put them in the black or white category.
Absolutely. So, and you call the project Embrace You because that's really where you want people to go. You want them to see beauty in the natural occurrence beginning with themselves, right? Go ahead, elaborate on that a little bit.
So as I started getting all these art pieces back, because some artists even did more than one piece by their own free will, but they basically, I was starting to get these pieces back, and I realized 50 artists, about 50 pieces of art, and no two images look exactly the same. No two artists drew me the exact same way. They were all so different in their own ways, and I realized sometimes when we look in the mirror, because I talk to a lot of people, and I'm talking about myself too, but sometimes we look in the mirror and we don't like what we see. We're having a bad hair day, we're having like an acne breakout, we've been bullied, or we've just never been friends with our reflection. And so if no two artists drew me the exact same way, and I worked with 50 of them from around the world, that made me realize that no matter what we see in the mirror isn't necessarily how the rest of the world sees us, that we need to embrace who we are from how we look. Because, like, why are we fighting about the bad hair day if probably the rest of the world doesn't care about it like we do?
That's right. Right. They don't see that as a bad hair day. They just see it as you walking down the street. But we're self-conscious about it because there's part of us that wants to look a certain way, I think. The people who worry about their bad hair too much are really trying to contrive their appearance instead of accepting their appearance, right?
Yeah, and I think it starts young, too, because even a few months ago I was helping my little cousin. She was 5 at the time, and she just, like, was trying to do her hair, and she kept taking her hair out and trying to put it back up, taking it back out because she was frustrated that it wasn't looking the exact way she wanted, and she thought it looked ugly. And I was like, dude, it looks totally fine. Like, I think it looks great. And but she didn't see it that way. And so I think it starts early, but I just figure if we stop fretting about the little things, like trying to, like, look our best, whatever, that's fine. But, just embracing who we are as we are, from the appearance to our talents and passions to, like, who we are as a whole.
Absolutely.
I think it's important.
I want people to get on this website with us right now. What you'll find at thetravelinchick.com are artists' interpretations of crystal. And now I want to ask you about a couple of these that are on there.
Okay.
The very first one, that's who I picture I'm talking to when I talk to you. That smile, those cheekbones, those eyes bopping around there, that is the vibe I get. That seems to be a really good representation of you. What I love is what this Russian artist did. Do you not? I mean, now you look like, I don't know, a character in Kafka or Dostoevsky. Explain to me what vibe you got when you saw the contrast between those two works of art portraying you.
I don't know. I really didn't think, in the moment I didn't really compare. I was mostly like analyzing the conversation and what was being said or not being said. it was interesting because with the first picture, I had to pull it up on my phone until I could compare which ones we were talking about.
Right,
but
right.
the conversation was much more vibrant and friendly, and like we talked the whole entire time and just had fun. And with the Russian guy, he barely said a word, and if he did, it was like, asking me if, he said, I don't know if this is rude to say or not, but it looks like you've been punched in the face, and, stuff like that.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Oh, let me tell you, this Russian portrayal of you has a lot of pathos. You can feel the Russian cold wind. You can see the snow falling in the background. It really is a remarkable interpretation. Now, when we get down to the one of you in the coffee cup, you know the one I'm talking about with the newspaper next to you?
Yeah.
When they start to stylize it, what do you feel there? Are they saying maybe something about you that they're picking up in the moment? Are you ever surprised by your portrayal by an artist?
There have been a few I've been surprised about. But yeah, this one, I mean, for this one, he was kind of going off pictures I sent him, and I was kind of caught off guard whenever the birthmark's not there, I always get caught off guard because this one doesn't have the birthmark, but the style is super cool. And if they didn't include the birthmark, not every time, but I would often ask why they wouldn't. And for him, he said, the birthmark wasn't a deep line such as a scar. And so had it been like a deeper type of thing, then he would have included it. But he thought my birthmark was cool.
I see.
So it was interesting.
And what do you think of your Picasso style? Now, I'm a big fan of Picasso. So some people would be very uncomfortable with this, but I love the way this one came out. Do you mind describing how you felt when you saw this one?
I thought it was really cool. I'm not necessarily a Picasso fan, so I kind of made myself stretch out of my art comfort zone of, preference, because I was like, I want a whole wide variety, whether it's my favorite style or not. But I really like it because, he included my birthmark, and it was interesting because he included the color green, and I never wear the color green because I feel like it doesn't color coordinate with my face very well, but I really liked it, and he put purple highlights, or what looks like highlights, in my hair, which is fun because sometimes I have purple highlights in my hair to color coordinate to my face. So I don't know, I really liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
Now the drawing by the 5-year-old, that's the cousin you were just talking about a moment ago?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
So talk about this. That's my style of art right there. What your 5-year-old cousin did, that was all of my drawings in my life have always looked that way. Isn't it lovely, right, that she at that young age could have all of this in her to make it look the way it does? I think I see the birthmark, don't I?
Yeah, you do. So, yeah, it was Mother's Day, actually, when we were working on this one, and I took paper and pens and stuff like that, and crayons, so she would have her choice of what she wanted to use, and I just said, hey, why don't you draw a picture of us together? And so she drew us by a house that we're going to live in together for forever, and at the top it says, I love you, we are a BFF, best friend forever.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it was super adorable and super precious.
And it really is an insight into how early in our lives these kind of specific impressions start to become part of our understanding. Sometimes kids are diminished in a way. They go, well, I don't know if they really understand what's going on. I think they understand a lot more than grown-ups realize. All right, so I want you to comment on one more. The superhero is perfect. I love this. This is really what I think your commercial image could be. You are a little bit of a superhero. How did you like that when you saw it? And look how dashing she is.
So the artist and I actually worked back and forth on this one. If initially it was the character was actually in a mini skirt, and I was like, I don't wear skirts, let alone mini skirts. Can we do pants or something? Because you think of superheroes, they don't have time to be in skirts anyway. So
right.
They put me in the pants, but I really like it a lot because a lot of these artists, they did the birthmark in a typical kind of how it already looks way, but they made it something a little bit different and with a different pattern and stuff like that. And I just really like it. It like makes me feel super fierce. I don't know.
That's it. You know what? You took the word.
Superhero.
You took the word right out of my mouth. There's a fierceness to her that I absolutely love. And where did the name Amethyst come from?
My friend Denise wrote a story for me. She's like been one of my biggest cheerleaders in the last few years. And after all my treatments, I struggle because I'm in pain for about a week after, and I physically look different in my eyes because, you know, I always look different in the world's eyes, but in that after treatments, I always look different than what I think is different. And she, you know, people after treatments are usually even more unkind because it looks vastly different and darker.
Right.
And so people often stare and make comments and stuff like that more than usual. And she wrote this story about a superhero named Amethyst who had a birthmark like mine, and how whenever people were mean, like the spots on the birthmark would shoot out purple darts, and if they were nice, it would send out pretty flowers to them.
That
and
is
so
perfect.
it was like a sarcastic story, but it kind of stuck.
Oh, that's perfect. I love that. The superpower right from the birthmark. Beautiful. Now, do you like being a mermaid? A couple of photos down, a couple of drawings down? How do you like the mermaid one? Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
Well, I love all of these, and I think the project itself is exemplary. What do you hope people get from what you've done here?
Well, I kind of hope that, in a way, will also normalize birthmarks. I mean, there's the whole embrace you part, which, you know, really what I do is I try to take whatever I blog about and to encourage anybody, whether they have a physical difference or not. And so I hope people do embrace who they are as they are. But I would like to normalize birthmarks because, I mean, I even used, there are characters here everybody knows of. You know, we have a Smurf, we have a Lego, we have a Disney character, Harry Potter. So if we can use characters that are in a way already out there, something iconic that everybody already knows of, then hopefully that can merge in the world of birthmarks and physical differences in a way that, you know, kind of bridging it into what people are already accustomed to.
Oh, absolutely. Overcoming that barrier, changing the idea of separateness, getting rid of separation. It's terrific.
Yeah.
TheTravelingChick.com. And by the way, I know we've talked about this more than once. You, I think, someday will be hosting a show. What's been going on with that? You're probably too busy with a million of other things, but I really hear a host in you because you're a great teacher, a great explainer, and I think what we said in the earlier part of the interview, there's some vibe about you that wants to make the world better because of your experience. Are we going to hear the Crystal Hodges show at some point?
I hope so. That is the goal. I, you know, at first was going to like start a podcast, but then I got a bit busy with a ton of projects, which are taking place right now. And so I just haven't had the time to really like sit down and, you know, do anything with it. So I really want to do that one day. It's still on my list, and it will happen. So you are definitely going to be one of the first people to hear about it when it does happen.
Well, I'll tell you what, we are looking forward to it because not only do I want to hear it, I want to put it on our network. I want to share what you have with the whole world, kiddo. You're very, very special to us. All right, well, thetravelingchick.com is the website. You can start there. You do speaking. You're seen in the media. What do people ask you when you talk to them about your experience? What are some questions that you get that you're glad people asked you?
Oh, that's a really good question. You know, it's interesting because sometimes they'll ask me, well, how did that make you feel? And sometimes, you know, that breaks down to that I am a person, that I do have feelings. And, you know, I'm just like everybody else, no matter what I look like. And so that's kind of an interesting, you know, thing to like bridge that gap. I don't know, everybody asks so many different questions. It's been really interesting.
I bet they surprise you every time, right? Every time you start to take questions, I bet there's always one you've never heard before, right?
Like this one right here. But yeah, there was one, you know, truthfully, I initially when I started this art project, I didn't realize the correlation of going viral and how that connected to this project and how, you know, I was mocked by the world for my appearance, and so I wanted to work with the world to change the world's understanding and definition of beauty. I didn't realize the correlation until, and I don't remember what the guy was asking, but the local news station was covering my project, and he asked me a question, and I hadn't heard that one before, and it made me realize, I wish I could remember his question, but it made me realize, oh wait, there is a connection, that they are two separate things going viral in this project, but they're also partnered together in some ways.
Well, I'll tell you what, you are a world changer. I have no doubt about that, and it's a pleasure for all of us to watch you step into this life the way you have and to see where you're going to go. We're big fans here. You must know that, so we look forward to your return, and people can go to the travelinchick.com. I'm pronouncing it so they'll know there's no G on the traveling. It's the travelinchick.com, and they can also go to crystalhodges.com. All right, well, what are you doing for the weekend? What do you typically do on a weekend? What's your weekend plans for this weekend?
It actually varies, but my mom and I are getting ready to drive to Florida from California. That's where I'm at now. It's California. We're driving to Florida starting on Monday.
Oh,
so
my God,
I'm getting ready for that trip.
Road trip.
Yeah.
Oh, and you and Mom together in the car? How much fun. You are going to rock.
Yeah, we have a family reunion, and then we're going to hit up Nashville so I can go to some meetings, and we're going to, go up to Mount Rushmore. We're just going to make it into this big trip. So,
oh, my God, that sounds so amazing. All right, well, enjoy every moment of it, and next time you're on the show, you'll tell us about your trip.
For sure.
You
Thanks.
got it. All right, well, have a great weekend. Crystal Hodges on the Ed Tyll Show, Starcom Radio Network. Breaking news and weather in Wall Street coming right up.